Let's get started with the first news story that has been getting a lot of attention recently. There's been some buzz about a potential matchup between Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev in October. That's right, October might be the month when these two finally collide inside the octagon. Magomed himself dropped a big hint about it. He teased that he's fighting Alex in October, which got fans absolutely hyped. Imagine these two in the cage. It's a stylistic clash that has the MMA community talking. But that's not all. Ankalaev wasn't exactly impressed with Khalil Roundtree's performance over Jamal Hill. In fact, he didn't hold back at all. He decided to go on social media and wrote, "Your daddy is next Alex, Bumtree, take a seat. Terrible fight." Those are some strong words. He's basically saying that the fight was awful, that Roundtree didn't deliver the goods, and that Pereira is next on his hit list. He didn't stop there either. Ankalaev followed it up with another message. He wrote, "October, I will close the page and this guy's career. No mercy, no mercy." That's some intense trash talk right there. He's promising to end Pereira's run in dramatic fashion. He's not saying he wants to win by decision or outpoint him. He's talking about destroying him, closing the chapter entirely, making sure there's no coming back. That level of confidence can be seen as pure bravado or as a calculated mind game to get in Pereira's head. This is classic fight promotion, but it also feels personal. You can tell Ankalaev is trying to set the tone early, trying to make it clear that he's not impressed with Pereira's resume or aura of danger. Now the question is, will Pereira respond? He's been known to be calm but deadly, the kind of fighter who doesn't get rattled easily. Fans will be waiting to see if Alex fires back or chooses to stay silent and let his fists do the talking when they meet in the octagon. The matchup itself would be incredible. Pereira's striking is legendary. His power is well documented, and he's known for ending fights with a single, precise shot. Meanwhile, Ankalaev is more well-rounded. He's got strong grappling, good defense, and he's patient. He can frustrate strikers by taking away their space, dragging them into his world. The potential chess match between these two styles is mouth-watering for fans. And let's not forget, Ankalaev is still bitter about how some of his recent results have gone. He feels he has something to prove. This isn't just about beating Pereira, it's about making a statement to the division. It's about showing that he's the guy who deserves the belt, who can't be denied. So now everyone's watching October. Is that when these two will settle it once and for all? Or is this just another round of social media posturing? For now, we wait, but one thing's for sure, this feud is only getting hotter. Now let's move on to another big story sparking serious debate in the MMA world. Demetrious Johnson, one of the most respected fighters ever, recently shared his thoughts about Jon Jones and the GOAT conversation in an interview with Ariel Helwani. Johnson was clear. He doesn't think Jon Jones can be considered the greatest of all time because of his history of failed drug tests. Demetrious explained it with a striking analogy. He said there are two mountains. On one mountain are the clean fighters who never failed any drug tests, guys like himself, GSP, and Khabib. On the other mountain are those who have failed. That divide, he argues, is important and can't be ignored. He challenged anyone to ask fighters worldwide, does someone who failed a drug test qualify as the GOAT? Most would say no. Johnson insists this isn't about hating on Jon Jones. He says he's simply stating facts. He pointed out that he's never failed a test. Khabib never failed a test. GSP never failed a test. Why? Because they chose to play by the rules. He talked about their long reigns, consistency, and the fact they were never stripped for cheating. He contrasted that with Jon Jones's record. While acknowledging that Jones is an amazing athlete, Johnson says if you're talking about the absolute greatest, you have to hold them to the highest standards. Drug test failures can't be ignored or swept aside. Johnson also took it beyond MMA. He brought up legends like Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, Usyk, and Usain Bolt, none of whom ever failed a drug test. Across sports, true GOATs don't have that stain on their records. For Demetrious, it's simple. If you fail a drug test, you get disqualified from that conversation. That standard is non-negotiable. The GOAT talk isn't just about wins and titles. It's about integrity, legacy, and doing it without question marks. He knows critics will say he's just hating, but he rejects that. He says, no, I'm speaking facts. For him, it's about principle, even if it's uncomfortable. This interview stirred up strong reactions. Some fans agreed completely, saying failed tests should remove anyone from GOAT talk. Others defended Jones, arguing his achievements can't be dismissed. It's a classic debate that keeps MMA fans talking. Now let's shift to another heated moment that got people buzzing. Daniel Cormier was recently doing an event during International Fight Week with Chael Sonnen. The two legends were on stage answering some wild questions from the fans. Then Cormier decided to put the crowd on the spot with a question that's been floating around MMA discussions for months. He asked the crowd straight up, did Jon Jones duck Tom Aspinall? That's a heavy question. It's one of those things fans love to speculate about. Tom Aspinall is considered one of the most dangerous heavyweights rising through the ranks. Fast, technical, well-rounded, with knockout power and slick submissions. When Cormier asked the question, the crowd responded with a loud, clear yes. The room just erupted. It wasn't a polite maybe or a hesitant kind of. It was a full-throated agreement that Jones ducked Aspinall. You could see Cormier take it in. He's always been very honest about his opinions, and he didn't shy away here either. He said he personally doesn't think Jon Jones is afraid of Aspinall. He's been adamant about that. He doesn't buy the narrative that Jones is scared. But he also admitted something important. Your legacy is not just about what you say about yourself. It's about how people remember you. It's about how your peers and the fans talk about you. And when you have a big section of the crowd yelling yes to the idea that you ducked someone, that's hard to ignore. He told the audience that's how this works. You can argue your case all you want, but once the public decides you ducked someone, it sticks. That's part of the legacy conversation. It doesn't matter if you disagree. If enough people believe it, that becomes the narrative. And you could tell Cormier understood the weight of that. He knows what it's like to have people talk about your legacy. He knows how every decision you make in your career can be picked apart. He was pretty philosophical about it, acknowledging that the fans' opinion matters, even if you disagree with them. He also highlighted how this puts Aspinall in a tough spot. Without that legacy-defining fight against Jones, Tom now has to build his career another way. He has to make his name without that giant win on his resume. That's the reality of the sport. Now let's move on to another piece of news that left UFC fans shocked and disappointed. Dana White was forced to cancel a UFC 317 fight at the last minute and even released a fighter from the roster, showing just how unpredictable the fight game can be. The fight between Cedric Dumas and Jacquin McVeigh was pulled from the UFC 317 card because Cedric couldn't get his ankle monitor removed in time to travel. That's right, legal issues literally stopped him from making it to the event. Cedric released a statement admitting he's going through a lot and apologizing to his fans and the UFC. He promised to be a better role model, calling it sad that he was still doing kid stuff and acknowledging it wasn't the right way to live. His words showed genuine regret. He knows he let everyone down, especially fans who wanted to see him fight. The UFC didn't just give up, they scrambled to find a replacement on 4 days' notice, which is no easy feat. They signed Christopher Ewert, who was 7-0 at the time, to step in against Jacquin McVeigh. Fans were curious about this newcomer and it looked like the UFC had saved the matchup. But things went wrong again. Christopher Ewert showed up 10 pounds over the weight limit. That's not a small miss. It's a massive one. The UFC didn't even try to make it work at that point. Because of the huge miss, they canceled the fight completely and decided to release Christopher Ewert from the roster immediately. It was a brutal reminder of how harsh this sport can be. One fighter couldn't fight because of legal trouble. The other blew his big chance by failing to make weight by a mile. In the end, the fans got nothing, and the UFC was left cleaning up the mess. Dana White and the UFC pride themselves on professionalism and delivering for fans. Incidents like this remind everyone they have little patience for fighters who can't meet basic expectations. It's a tough break for the fighters involved, but the UFC has to keep the show moving and protect its reputation. That's where things stand in the world of MMA, a week full of drama, harsh realities, and the kind of chaos that keeps fans coming back for more. Because in this sport, you never really know what's going to happen next.